Now, everyone knows that it's better to look rich than to actually be rich. I mean, just look at Dan Bilzerian. This man is swimming in a pool of pussy, and it's because he just pretends to be rich. Now, he did inherit a shit ton of money, and he pretends he won at gambling, but you don't even need to inherit a massive fortune to look as though you have one, because the cars on this list look far more expensive than they actually are. And if your main concern is just picking up chicks, or dudes, I don't judge because, let's face it, there are some pretty hot dudes out there, so I totally get where gay people are coming from. But anyways, these cars will work perfectly because they all have massive curb appeal, which will transform you into the Michael Phelps of the pussy pool. Just one quick tip though, once you get one of these cars, be sure to set it as your cover photo for something like Tinder, like Mark here. This is the reason you haven't felt a woman's touch in years, and it's the guys like Mark are taking up all the girls because of his flashy car and showing it off on dating apps. Now with the important stuff covered, let's get on to the first car that will ensure you're constantly swimming in a pool of pussy. And the Maserati GranTurismo will have you doing just that. This thing is crazy beautiful, styled by the best in the biz of giving you a hard-on from a piece of metal, Pininfarina. It's like the result of a Portofino getting raw-dogged by an angry horny viper on the kitchen floor. Now, let's take a look at what the Maserati badge actually means. In other words, when your crush comes out of her apartment and you're there waiting to stalk her on her way to work, what will she think of you based on your car? That is, if she manages to see you, which is a rookie error by the way. But anyways, this is the real important part, okay? First off, anyone who drives a Maserati smokes. You're already taking a huge risk with an expensive car, so you need to balance that out by taking a large risk with your health as well. Plus, it makes you look cool. And, by the way, anyone who says, smoking makes you look like a loser is just a pussy, and they're probably the least cool person in the world, so how the fuck would they know? Anyways, Maserati owners also wear a full suit and sunglasses wherever they go. Morning, evening, sleeping, it doesn't matter. They never take it off because they're just a straight up badass. And finally, 95% of Maserati owners are likely hitmen. But obviously, they're not the kind of hitmen who drive a Ford F-150 and they crawl into the stall while you're taking a shit and choke you to death while you're just trying to push out a log. No, a Maserati owner would use a sniper rifle from about a mile away. You don't have to deal with the body, they just pack up, go to a bar, and bang someone half their age. So, to own this car, you better be ready to take up smoking as a hobby, live your whole life wearing a suit and sunglasses, and make a living by taking the lives of random people. Now, if that sounds good to you, then you can get one of these cars for about $20,000 to $30,000, and getting a bit of practice in, that's probably just 3 to 4 powerful politicians you need to strike down with your sniper rifle before you can afford to get this bad boy. Now, I don't want to bore you with the details, but since there are probably some nerds watching this, I'll fill you in. This thing has a V8 from Ferrari in it. Okay, great. The Bentley Continental GT is the next car on this list. With this car, it's all about that distinctive winged bee on the fat, bloated styling that will make people realize you're driving something expensive. But when I say fat, I mean fucking fat. Obese to the point where you can barely walk, and that's what this car is. Because this car weighs an astonishing 5,500 pounds, which is like 2.5 Miatas. It's gotten to the point where it's so goddamn big, it's just completely given up on trying to lose weight. This is like the fat people you see at the grocery store, who instead of getting their weekly exercise from walking down the junk food aisle, they just get one of those electric scooters and never have to use their legs again, so they can just focus on becoming a human blue whale. However, the Bentley is somewhat different from this mobility scooter person. Because this thing is like a 500-pound dude who can get up from his couch after watching Wheel of Fortune and run an entire fucking marathon. And that's because this thing actually has a 6-liter twin-turbo W12 engine, which makes 550 horsepower, and means this behemoth still goes from 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds, and onto a top speed of 197 fucking miles per hour. Now, that makes sense because Bentley is owned and operated by the Volkswagen Audi Group, or as a gentleman would call it, VAG. VAG also owned Bugatti, so I guess you could think of this as a sort of baby Bugatti. But now you're probably wondering, who is the type of person to own this car? Well, you're in luck because I'm going to tell you. And here it is. Yes, it's just Paris Hilton. And this abomination is her Bentley. So if you like this car and you think you're going to get one, then I hope you enjoy putting on fake fingernails and curling your hair, because that's the requirement. And now let's cover some boring stuff for the nerds. You can get one of these for around $35,000. Okay, great, you're welcome, nerd. Right, the Mercedes G-Class, or as it's called in Nazi land, the Mercedes-Benz Geländewagen. And all Germany jokes aside, this thing is the real deal. For your intent of appearing rich, this thing is just about perfect. Basically, any owner of this thing is just saying, poof, 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 I'm fucking rich, and I'm shoving it in your stupid poor face. Poof, poof, poof. Get out of the way, your stupid Honda Civic, before I run into you and reduce you to the IQ of a cucumber, just because I can pay my lawyer to explain to the judge, well, you know, it's really okay, see, because my client here is fucking rich, and this guy was just in the way. So, anyways, owning this car will make you look like a god amongst men. When normal people make eye contact with someone in a G-Wagon, they instantly look away out of pure fear and inadequacy. They know that anyone behind the wheel of a G-Wagon is just an entire league above them, and so they know not to interfere with you going about your day. And that's exactly why you buy this car. You want people to know you're rich and that you're above them in every single way. You're smarter, funnier, sexier, cooler, and straighter than anyone else. And this is exactly like the Bentley, but with more glamour and more flash. It's way less discreet, and it towers above every other car. It is a true baller's car, but fortunately, you can join those ranks. You can get a modern-looking example for only around $40,000, which is a small price to pay for the status this thing affords you. Everyone will instantly think you're a baller, and you don't even need to smoke to prove it. And if there's any nerds still watching, then this thing has an engine. It's probably a V8. Anyways, moving on. The Jaguar F-Type is a rather unreliable car. I've seen quite a few explode, including some rich-ass kid from my high school who was just driving down the freeway and his fucking engine decided to take a shit. I also saw someone who bought one on YouTube, and they did about 30 seconds of donuts before the engine turned itself into a metal rock tumbler. I think those are the V6s though, so just make sure you get the V8. But I was also looking at used examples of these things for this video, and check this out. This 2016 model has less than 90,000 miles, and it's already had a failed water pump, failed oil cooler, and a broken supercharger coupler. That is just fucking amazing to me, that a new car can cost you nearly $2,500 in service before it's even paid off. Now, this shitbox reliability is reflected in the prices, because you can get a modern F-Type for just about $30,000. So it's almost justifiable, apart from the fact that it'll probably cost you $30,000 again just from maintenance in the first year of ownership. Now, I think you should buy one of these, and here's why. First off, all of the engines you can get were supercharged. Now, if that alone isn't a reason to buy one, then you could also get one with all-wheel drive. This means an all-wheel drive supercharged V8, which is the perfect car if you live somewhere with snow. Side note, driving this car in the snow will increase your rich appearance by about 100%, because any normal person who owns this car would be too much of a pussy to bring it out if the forecast predicts rain in the next week. And if you are the target customer, then you will bring it out in inclement weather. That's because the target customer for this car bought it after gambling their life savings at the casino and getting lucky. You smoke cigarettes because you're young and you have the outlook that life is short, so you better enjoy it, then try to prolong it. And you are also the type of guy to put a little crack on the end of your cigarette on a Friday night. Now, that being said, you also play golf because, of course, this is a golfer's car. The next car on this list is the Land Rover Range Rover. Now, whenever I see this car, I just think of the baller from GTA 5, and so that's who I'm going to base the customer on. So, if you own one of these cars, then you're definitely Franklin from GTA 5 Story Mode. This is the car you buy after you finally make it out the hood, and as Jeremy Clarkson would describe it,
if that pulled up outside your house, you'd think, oh no, a drug dealer is here.
This style of Range Rover can be had for under $10,000, and I even saw some under $5,000. This is amazing considering it still has modern looks, and to anyone who doesn't know a lot about cars, this seems expensive and high-end. Though that shockingly low price hints at the reliability of this thing. Well, let's just examine the facts, shall we? Well, first, it's British, it's worth about 10% of what it was worth 10 years ago, and it's owned by posers. I think we get the idea now. It's less dependable than an expired condom, and frankly, this thing is just a giant financial trap. Now, this thing is actually pretty great off-road, though of course that doesn't matter in the slightest, because the most off-roading you'll do in this thing is in a gravel parking lot for the dog park, where you bring your untrained bloodhound Pitbull just to watch it rip the throats from other people's dogs. Then after that, you let it probably sit in the passenger seat and drool over the fucking dash. Maybe that's why they're actually so cheap. Anyways, the final car is the amazing Alfa Romeo Giulia. Now, I said I had one of these, and I do. So here it is. I mean, of course, this is in GTA, but you know, that's a pretty realistic game, I think, so I know what it's like to own and drive. And right off the bat, you can tell this thing is fucking sexy like Charles Leclerc. It's very distinct, and that's why people notice it. Also, non-car people know jack shit about Alphas, so they probably won't even know what the badge is. They might even assume it's some kind of Ferrari, which it kind of is. This car has a twin-turbo Ferrari V8, albeit with the first two cylinders removed, but, you know, that's whatever. You still get Ferrari handling and acceleration. That is, if you go for the V6, which they did also offer a 2-liter 4-banger for cuckolds. But if your only intention is to look rich and you like the look of this, then I suppose it'll work. However, you can get the 500 horsepower Ferrari-derived V6 with all-wheel drive for just $40,000, and if that isn't the bargain of the century, then I honestly don't know what is, besides Belle Delphine's OnlyFans, of course. Also, you can get lower trims for around 30 grand. This thing has perfect 50-50 weight distribution, which makes it amazing to drive, and that means it has won a metric shit ton of awards, as you can see here on the Wikipedia page. Now, if you own one of these cars, then I'd expect you to have glasses. You're probably a fucking nerd, and you've been licking up the shit I've been saying earlier about the performance, but fuck it, I can't blame you. You're probably a dentist or a hair salon owner, something weird like that, a bit out of the ordinary, but, you know, a bit interesting. Now, I'm not sure how reliable these things are, but they are owned by Fiat Chrysler, who have a track record for making shit boxes. But screw it, honestly, you should get one. Ferrari twin-turbo V6, amazing looks, 4 doors for more friends, manual option, it just has everything you could ever ask for. To see more car pics like this, check out this playlist or this video. I literally make videos like this all the time where you can just look at fucking sick-ass cars to buy and, you know, I make a video about it and then I show you the car and then you look at it and then you maybe think about buying it, but you probably never buy it because I'm just some random guy on the internet just telling you about random